Yo, what up, world? 502 King Paul coming to y'all with another video, man. Hey, so I just now got done doing a video, but something else came to mind in the midst of me doing it, man. And we're gonna talk about weed and money, man. We're gonna talk about weed and money because I could talk about this from two different viewpoints, man. Because at a point in my life, I sold weed for money, and I've also spent a whole lot of money smoking weed. And I think much more people can relate to that second scenario than the first scenario. But let me start off with, with the first scenario, man, like selling weed for money. For one, so when I started doing this, and I've long since quit, so I'm not telling on myself in no way, shape, or form. I long since quit doing that. But when I first started doing it, man, I didn't smoke at all. So everything was all profit for me. I could get weed cheap, get it to people, and I just go on about it. And I really had no real business model or anything like that. When you first start up any kind of business, even if you sell drugs, you do some kind of business. But when you start that up, man, you don't really have a plan for it. So I probably wasn't making as much as what I could have, but I still made money, and I did not partake in smoking weed at all. Later on, as I started to smoke weed, I started to sell weed more, but I was cutting into my profit, man, because a lot of times, you may get some weed and then you're smoking out of the sack, and then you're selling, and then you're pretty much, for a while, I see my profit start from, a higher level, then it started going down. Pretty soon you're just breaking even as your habit starts to get worse and worse, man. That's one standpoint of it. So, when you're sitting here and you're dealing with weed, you're smoking weed, and, trying to sell it at the same time, you're going to lose out on a whole lot of money. And I'm not recommending anybody sell weed, man. I know there's a lot of dispensaries and stuff, and still people that sell weed on the street. I'm not suggesting that you do that. If you do it, that's on you, man. But I'm not condoning that. I'm just saying, it cut into my profits. That's the main point that I want to give y'all inside this video. It cut into my profits. Now, on the other hand of it, man, when I stopped selling weed and I was just smoking weed, man, I spent so much money on weed. It's ridiculous. It's super ridiculous. Like, if you go back and like really think about how much you spend on weed, I can't even remember how much I was spending at the time, man, but I know I was spending at least, let's just take a modest amount. Let's say $400 a month. $400 a month times that over, that's $4,800 in a year, and that's modest. A lot of people spend more than $400 when you really think about it a month on weed. So that's $4,800, and then you take that and multiply it over, bare minimum, I was smoking 10 years. I know over 10 years straight, all day, every day. Take that over 10, man, that's $48,000. That's $50,000. It's nothing to cough at. That's money that could be going into all kind of different things. It could be paying your bills. It could be giving you a better life. It could be just, you could be in a whole different stratosphere with an extra 50 grand in your pocket right now. For investments, whatever it is that you want to do with it. Like, if I would have took that same 50,000 and invested that money, I would be in a whole different situation right now instead of my life. And I'm not doing bad, but at the same time, I'm like, man, that's a lot of money, and I know people who have spent way more than that, on weed, in a month, over the course of a year, over the course of a decade, way more. I was in a lot of bad money situations back when I was smoking weed all day, every day, man, because you try to find a way, you try to make a way out of no way to smoke weed. You're hanging around people that you probably wouldn't even necessarily hang around. Some of them, yeah, maybe, but some of them, man, you would have no business, no dealing with these people if y'all did not all smoke weed and you wasn't matching blunts or whatever it is you smoke out of, cones, joints, whatever. You wouldn't even be around this person. But I found myself a lot of times during that time that I was smoking weed, like to that level, I found myself just falling into a lot of debt, man. And that, it takes a while. It takes a while, man. I firmly believe however long it takes you to get yourself into a situation, into a mess, it takes you just as long to get out of that situation. So when you drive yourself down into debt for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10, whatever the case is, man, it takes almost just as long for you, if not just as long, for you to really build back up and flip that all the way around, man. to flip it all the way around. You know, it's a lot of, you know, I look at just how much debt I done went into over the course of those years. I look into, you know, some of the situations I put myself in, I had no business put myself into, man. And it's ridiculous. I know it's a lot of young dudes out there right now, you know, and they smoking 3 5s inside. Like back in the day when I first started smoking, people would roll up like a 0.5, a half a gram, you know, and then it went from a 0.5 to 0.7 to a gram to now, you know, it's 3.5 grams or 3.5 grams in one backwood. Like, that's outrageous to sit there and smoke that much weed. And you got to think how much money is really going into this, man. Especially if you want to smoke all day, every day. How much money is getting poured out? What could you be doing with that money? You know, now I'm all about, it ain't about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep. You know, that's some real free game I can give to y'all, man, but some very valuable game. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. So all the money, you can bring in all the money in the world, man. That's why sometimes people just can't get ahead, because if you can't manage a small amount of money, you're not going to be able to manage a large amount of money. Sometimes people think, man, if I just had, you know, a 10 grand, if I had 100 grand, if I had $1 million, if I had $10 million, I wouldn't have to worry about nothing anymore. But the fact is, there's a lot of people who win the lottery and they go broke within those first couple of years. Why? Because they don't know how to manage money. They didn't know how to manage that $1,000, that $500. So how would you know how to manage, you know, $20,000? How would you learn how to manage 20 million, 200 million? You know, I've heard it, people say it time and time again, man, if I win that much money, I'll never have to worry about nothing again. Well, why are all these people going broke? It's because you don't know how to manage money. And if you smoke weed constantly and you're forgetting things, or you're not handling your business like you're supposed to, or you pouring too much into your vice, which is smoking weed, then you're not going to be good with money, man. I don't know too many people, honestly, because it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about being disciplined. It's a discipline thing. That's why I love working out now. You know, it's all about discipline, because if you cannot discipline yourself to cut this thing off and say, okay, I've spent enough, I've hit my budget, or whatever it is that you plan for smoking weed, and just cut yourself off, and you're one of those people like me, where it's like, I don't care what the budget is, all day, every day I need to smoke, then you're going to end up in a lot of bad situations, man. I know a lot of younger people watch this channel. I know some older people watch this channel, but I'm going to tell you that this problem is universal, because you can always, man, go broke messing around with that weed, man. If you're messing around with that weed, you can go broke way quicker. Like, if you got any kind of bad habit like that, like you're a gambler, like I know people who are hardcore gamblers, you know, spend all their money. You got sneakerheads, spend all their money. Like, if you don't know how to turn your vice down, then it can drive you into ruins, man. And weed is one of them things to where the most messed up part about it, I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap this video up here, but the most messed up part about weed is you don't get back anything for your money. Like, you get high for a moment and then you don't have anything. Like, at least with sneakerheads, you know, they can spend their money, but they can look around their room and get a whole bunch of shoes. Or, you know, if you're a jewelry kind of person, you can buy jewelry and spend it all up, but at least you got the jewelry. You have something solid, something physical that you can look at. If you buy whatever it is, man, if you buy any kind of product, you know, you still have it. And if you're smart, you buy products that have some kind of value. You know, that's why I'm a big fan of, you know, jewelry. I love buying jewelry because not only does it tend to hold its value, but, you know, gold, stuff like that, man, it goes up in value over time. So if you ever needed, you know, that hard asset, you have that hard asset. I don't suggest everybody go out and wear stuff all the time. You're like, you don't have to wear it, but you want something that holds value. When you smoke weed, you smoke it and it's gone, man. It got to the point towards the end of me smoking weed, I would literally be sitting there smoking, and I'm like, damn, I'm smoking $10 right now. It's like me rolling up a $10 bill and just smoking it. You know, I done went out and bought this weed, and I go through all that, man. I just smoked $100. It's just like taking some money and burning it. And Some people may think that's a bit extreme, but I'm telling you, man, you don't have nothing else, because when that high leaves you, you're left with the same stuff that you was trying to run away from in the first place. You're left with the same stresses, same anxieties, same feelings that you had before. All those emotions you were trying to get away from, all those thoughts you were trying to run from, you still have those things. At the end of the day, after the weed gets smoked, after you come down, all that stuff is still there. So hopefully this video gets out to somebody who needs to see it. Hopefully y'all enjoy this video. If so, go down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. It's 502 King Paul. Till next time, I love y'all. Y'all stay blessed. I'm out, man.